Hey everyone, welcome back to the IllumeConnect channel. We are here with Brandon Corral of Swift Hammer Leather out of San Diego. He is an incredible artist and teacher. We're actually here at the IllumeConnect Learning Studios. Welcome to Salt Lake City.
Howdy.
So, how did you come up with Swift Hammer Leather?
I love answering this question because it's so stupid. So, I'm a big gamer, always have been, right? Now, if anybody's ever fired up an Xbox, when you make an online account, it's going to ask you for like a username, and if you don't come up with one, it automatically generates one from you, and it uses some type of adjective and some type of noun. You got like suspicious penguin or like angry lobster. So I was like, well, I should probably just like some type of descriptor and then some type of word. And I definitely want like hammer in there because every leatherworker's first thought is, well, let's include some type of leatherwork tool into my logo, into my name. That's like everyone's go-to, right? But I was like, I want something like involving speed, but like fast hammer just sounds kind of dumb. What's like another word that just sounds kind of cool? Like, swift hammer. As long as nobody pronounces it swift hammer in like one long word, then we're solid. And like I came up with it years ago and just had never had an excuse to change it. And then once I started to live stream and you know, you don't really intend on developing like an internet personality, but like as when people come up with a nickname for you, when people start calling me Swift, it's like, well, dang, now I can't change it because like now it's like not gonna make sense anymore. So
Yeah,
that's how I came up with it.
that's pretty good. That, some people have, their emails, their Gmail accounts since they're 13 and they hate to tell anyone what they are. And just took that to a whole new level. That's pretty good.
My email has 13 in it because I made it when I was 13 for MySpace and just have been riding by on the same email ever since. And it's funny because like when I was little, I was a bit of a troublemaker, and I got brought into the office one time, and my email got brought up, and this nice principal just looks at me like 13, like MS-13. I was like, dude, is it because I'm brown? And they immediately just shut her up so fast.
Nope.
It's for MySpace, bro.
That's
Chill.
great. That's great. So what do you do in the leather industry?
I mean, I would just consider myself an artist. I prioritize the art definitely more than the craft. Not to say that like I don't think that my craft is, it's not bad, but seeing as how a lot of other people prioritize like bad construction, my priority, and because my specialty is tooling and airbrushing, so I really do prioritize how do I slap art, how do I make art functional, and not necessarily how do I make like a craft. So I feel like I've been trying to figure out a way to get people more intimate with art, because most people just see like fine art as something that goes on a wall and it's disconnected, and you're only connecting with it when you're currently viewing it, which is like the one time when you got it, and every now and then when you show it off to a guest or something like that, or for the rare occasion that you're like in a museum looking at art. But when you have art on you, especially for people that have tattoos, and you understand that like that, so the need for self-expression, but to be able to slap art onto functional things, I mean, it definitely brings a lot of like main character energy. It's another way for you to like express yourself, but I think it also gives life to the art. So like I've been trying to use leather as a way to more closely bind people with art. And I'm not entirely sure. I mean, you see this all the time in saddles, and this is the first leather tooling was technically found like archaeology sites. We're talking like before Christ old. So this is not a new concept, but I think because of my priorities of how I want to present art, I think that's what I'm trying to do with the leather industry, is using the skin of a previously living thing to bind art to people.
That's incredible. When did creativity and art start becoming, part of your story and your passion?
Oh man, that's because I've never messed with art prior to leather, so like it really got me thinking that like have I always been an artist? Was this like a learned trait? And if that's the case, has there always been like a need to create prior to art that I just never noticed? So there was like, a couple things. I'm talking a small handful of creative projects that I've done before art, before leather, that I mean, looking back at it now, I realize how much fun that I had, and it was just like, that was a blast. Let's never do that again. And I don't know why that was the case, but that was the case. I used to work at Ross before I was a leather artist, and Ross sells a whole bunch of weird little trinkets and stuff. And there's like this porcelain octopus. So I took the porcelain octopus home and I repainted it to look like a black widow.
Okay.
And it came out pretty cool. I mean, you can do a lot with cans of airbrush and nothing crazy, But it was a total blast. And if I had actually been prioritizing myself and how I feel, I would have realized, dude, that was a lot of fun. Why not do it again? And I just never picked it up. And it was only until afterwards that I realized, like, now that I know that I'm an artist, like, why didn't I pick up on any type of creative endeavors at all prior to this? Before leather, I played guitar a lot. And I'm not entirely sure. It wasn't necessarily the creativity of music that drew me to it. It was like the practice of discipline. Because prior to that, I was just like a complete troublemaker and like had no real need to try at anything. School was, I wouldn't say school was easy. Tests were easy. So I could skate by pretty much the entire time without giving any effort. But when it came to guitar, it was like, there's no way around it. I got into like death metal, and it's the most like guitar snob genre of music. Cause like it's, not a lot of reading involved. You don't got to learn a lot of the composition, but it's just so much technicality, speed, and timing, and just drills constantly before you can like get it down. And like, I was definitely addicted to like that discipline. So I think before I got into art, I was like addicted to the outcomes of good discipline. And once I did bump into art, like the first time that I figured out what tooling was, I immediately just made the decision, I'm never going to do that. Like, cool, I like this concept, never going to do it, because it just looks way too complicated. It just looks like I've never been, like, all my friends were artists growing up, and I just knew that just wasn't for me. I'm just not good at it. It doesn't come clearly. I don't have the desire to want to draw. And so the first time that I bumped into tooling, it was just, it's not like it was something that I thought I knew I was going to do. It was only until I started to like get into it as a job that it came really easily. And it almost like showed me like, look, this is already easy for you. Dip your toes a little bit more and see if you like this. And as I started to get more advanced with it, it just became like something more than a new addiction. It just felt like a new purpose,
Mm-hmm.
like something to try to not just get good at, but like, can you do something that has not been done before?
That's an incredible way to find expression where you least expect it.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about leather? Because I've heard both sides of it. Leather doesn't have rules, and you can do whatever you want and create whatever you want. And to others, there's a formula and there's only one way to do it. How do you see that in your craft, especially as someone who teaches others?
At first, leather feels very strict. It feels like any type of mistake is permanent, and it's very easy to make mistakes. But I think, like, especially very recently in the last couple of years, I realized that leather's actually like incredibly forgiving. Like, once you realize how to like work around certain issues, it feels like it wants you to fix your mistakes. But that's only been a very, very recent thing. So I feel like, I guess my thoughts might change as I grow older with the medium. But I definitely feel like leather it's an interesting, before I became an artist, I was going to school for material engineering as a chemist.
Oh, wow.
So like leather has definitely fascinated me as a material, because it's not, we call it a material. It's a bunch of materials packed into like a sandwich. So because of their all, combined attributes, it acts pretty special. So like it's kind of has some attributes of fabric, some of wood. Like it's kind of like the memory foam of craft materials. It can do whatever you want, up to a certain extent. It doesn't have like the structure that like metal does, but you can structure leather with other things. Because leather has the ability to like wrap around other mediums. It's a good binding agent for pretty much all materials. Like, let's just say you needed to wrap metal or wrap wood. You can get the attributes of something stronger and then add leather on top of it. But being something like leather that functions like a fabric, you can attach it onto people. So like you can attach it onto moving, functional, living things, also put art on top of it. It's like a nice little in-between. It's like the same thing with like a polarity in solutions. So like water and oil. Water and oil are total opposite ends of polarity, meaning like some molecules are perfectly symmetrical on all sides. Some molecules very much are lopsided. But because of that polarity difference, they don't like playing with each other. Now, if you can get something that's like right in the middle, kind of asymmetrical, but not completely lopsided like water, you can help blend those together. You find that in like all things. If you find like, let's just say you got a vat of water and it's vibrating and you try to drop water into it, that little drop will dance. It won't actually mix in because there's one thing is shaking too much and the other one is not on that level yet. That's the same thing with music. It's the same thing with like anything you have different energy levels. They need to somehow get close to each other before they can meld. And I feel like leather is that really happy medium that can meld pretty much most things.
So you have a mind of an artist and a mind of a scientist, and you found a medium that combines the two.
And they fight with each other all the time. And it's been something that like within the last 2 years, I always thought was like a weakness. And in some ways it is. So last year, was it last year? I don't remember. I think it was last year. It might have been 2 years ago. Some big YouTubers reached out to me to do like a documentary, right? They were trying to do like a pilot episode for their own TV show, and they wanted me to like be the test run. So they asked for 4 weeks of filming. It wasn't 4 weeks, it was 8 weeks. It turned out to be like way harder than we thought it was going to be. During that time, I've learned that the way that their team works, it's an artist, and then there's the businessman / videographer. Those two jobs are separated. They have their clear cut set aside for them. And so the artist never has to stress himself out about all the business stuff. And the business guy never has to stress himself out about like the existential artist stuff, right? And it was a good workflow. And I was always like envious of like, dang, dude, they have like the perfect setup. Because like that was always the biggest problem with me, is like finding that conflict of what is it that you like are drawn to do, and then what is it that you have to do. Because like I do this for a living. I've done this for a living for a decade now. Like it's I mean, as much as I love it, it's a business. Like I gotta pay my bills. I gotta feed my cat, you know? So it was wild to see this system that they created. And it's like, I was envious of it until I realized that there are weaknesses with that system. Now, two separate minds with two separate personalities have to come into agreement before anything is done. And if any toes get stepped on, it turns into a whole issue. So like I have found that as long as I can keep myself in line, it's essentially streamlining the process. Decisions can be made quicker. I can move a lot faster. I'm a much smaller boat, much more agile. But it does come at the cost of I need to be very, very aware of conflicts within myself. Because dude, those can hold you up so much. And I'm sure every artist has bumped into this. If I'm sure you know who you are. Where like you have this issue of I want to make this really, really cool art thing, but I know no one's gonna like it. And like, yes and no, that I can see where you're going from. And there's a good possibility that no one will understand what you're trying to do. No one will appreciate it as much as you did. And definitely no one's gonna appreciate you enough to pay you what it's worth. But sometimes those risks need to be made. And like, sometimes the business person needs to be like, it's okay to take that risk. We're either in the position to take that risk, or we have no choice but to take this risk. And you have to like let the artist do what the artist needs to do. Because sometimes the business can definitely get in the way, and sometimes the artist can get in the way. I feel like most artists have no balance. It's almost purely art, and then they figure out how can we give some scraps to the business side of my brain so that we don't die. For me, for a long time it was focus on the business, because if you can't make money doing this, you will never do this again. I'll see it as a failure and I'll just want to walk away from it and never touch it again. I'm like I wouldn't call myself a perfectionist, but I'm very competitive, and I if I want to get good at something, I will attempt to be the best in the world. And like before I got into leather, it was like Mortal Kombat 9. So completely unrelated, but I am like one of the best in the world at Mortal Kombat 9. And I will say that without a doubt. I am one of the best in the world at that game. So dumb, but like that's the seriousness I take it to. So like, I wouldn't say like I'm one of the best at leather. I feel like now, especially going to like the trade shows and traveling and teaching and stuff, I know it's out there. But I definitely like have aspirations to do what hasn't been done before. So like, just give me some time. I'll figure it out.
What you cook? That's, you already kind of went into that, but that is something that as I talk to the community every single day at these shows, on the phone or email, I hear the same thing. I'm trying to do what I love and run a business. And in your case, you have science, you have art, and you have bills to pay. And I think that that can be said for so many out there. The leather community is made up of a lot of smaller businesses. You have some bigger ones, but the majority of it is, you know, a little shop on a main street or out of the garage for the most part. And what I hear every day is sometimes I am so worried about paying the bills and about dealing with the human element of things that I lose all desire for creativity and I hit that brick wall. Have you ever experienced that, and how did you break out of that?
All the time. And I'll be honest, I don't think that I've mastered this part, but I've definitely hit a wall before, and it taught me a lot. About like 5 years into doing this, it was just kind of like the regular workflow of like 2 little chunks out of the year. I would just focus on building inventory, like as many wallets and small things to bring to shows as possible, right? I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with that. And it was to the point where like, you know, I figured out this system of instead of paying for labor, you can like invite fans, clients, even friends over to the shop to just do like untrained labor, and I'll pay you
Free
in store
labor.
credit. It wasn't free. I paid you in store credit. You technically got something out of it. Everybody's happy.
Gotcha.
So, you know, at the end of the month, you can put like, you know, $800 towards a commission, and then we'll work that out later. And I mean, it gives me an excuse to make some pretty cool stuff, because like, as much as I love doing cool functional art stuff, like unless I'm getting paid for it or something, or unless I have a reason to show it off, like that's a lot of time investment to pour into something with nothing to show for it, right? But there was one time I'm in my tiny little apartment, and I just have like 60 wallets laid out, just plastic tables everywhere, and then I just look to the side, you know, because I'm exhausted, and I'm looking at all these and realizing, dude, I don't care about any one of these. Like, you know, it's to the point where like the edges can only be so nice. Like we got 60 of these to crank out by the end of the week. So none of these have my actual attention. And I look out to the side and I see my like best friend at the time just sweating, covered in purple dye, just hustling. I'm just like, dude, how did I end up here? Like I'm like running a sweatshop, bro. Like what's going on? And it just made me feel like, dude, you can be a chemist. Like, is this what you want to do? Or is this what you feel you have to do? Because I hate failure. And it just made me feel like if I don't prioritize, like, okay, end goal, let's just say money's not a part of the equation. What is it that you want to do? I want to figure out a spot that I can do art. That's really what it boils down to, is I want to be financially comfortable enough so that I can be able to afford to do art and not have to worry about it. In an ideal situation, you have a normal job, and on the weekends, you do leather. However, there's a lot of like, let's just say leather tooling. No way out of it. You got to do hours and hours. I say hours. It's more like weeks, months.
Mm-hmm.
Like pack in so many hours that it's kind of like we don't measure the distance to the sun in feet. Like it's just we measure even miles is dumb. You know, like we use astronomical units. It's one distance to the sun, and that's how we calculate the rest of the other stars. So like I don't really like measuring projects in hours. I measure them in days or weeks. My minimum commission rate requires at least 1 week of work. So like I really won't touch a commission unless it's going to be 1 week. But it made me, having done this for long enough to run a sweatshop, made me feel like I need to figure out how to balance doing the stuff I want to do, or I just won't want to do this anymore because I don't have to do this. So I have found that like it kind of boils out to like once a month, once every 5 to 6 weeks, you need to cut aside like 3 to 5 days to just work on some type of creative endeavor. Doesn't matter what it is. It can be literally anything. Like the last, I recently injured myself, and I was just kind of sitting around the house like 2 weeks ago, just wasn't allowed to go in the shop. Everyone's all worried about me and just like, dude, I just need to do something. So like I just went to the shop and just started wrapping stuff. Like all these new tools that have just been sitting around, they all get leather handles. You get a leather handle, you get a leather handle, everybody gets leather handles. I made like cool little pouches for all my machines. It's just, I just took the time to do something creative because I understand now that that's important.
Yeah.
If you go too long without feeding that side of your brain, you're just, why continue this? This is not, I mean, this is a difficult way to make money. Like you can make some good money doing this, but like, dude, there's much easier, much more safer ways to make money. Like you got to, until you make that realization that this lifestyle is more than money. Like, why are you tripping about like the smallest slice of bread in this whole equation? Like it's the cool part is that you get to do art for a living. So you figured out a way to slice art out of it, and now you get all the hustle and none of the gain. It's like, why bother, you know? So I've definitely at least understood the balance, and I don't know necessarily if I fine-tuned the balance, but I do know roughly every 4 to 6 weeks, do something creative without ever worrying how you're going to get paid about for this. Just do it.
Just do something creative. So you went to school, you found art. What was your learning curve? How did you learn leather?
On accident, really. So I got into, when I first got into leather, it was just a very, very simple, like I got a line 24 snap setter, a couple straps of not even veg tan. It was just like some crusty chrome tan that they have at like Joann's or something. Handful of rivets and like the little 2-tooth prong to like set those little funky studs.
Yeah.
And it was like an immediate obsession, like unhealthy obsession. It was like anything that I'm really want to get into. It's, well, I'm going to be up to 4 a.m. every single day for the next 4 months doing nothing but this.
Well, there's worse things to get into.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely much worse learning from experience. I had gotten a lot of like, I wouldn't necessarily say leather education, but a lot of like creative figuring out, because I didn't have a lot of the correct tools for things like to punch holes. I didn't have an awl or anything, so I just grabbed like a screwdriver from my dad's like tool collection and just filed it down. You know, like I didn't have a punch board. I just dragged a stump in from outside. So all my work, I was just like it looks like, you know, third world country crouched down on the ground, just like art goblin stuff. And I didn't know any better, and I was having a blast, you know? And so like, it didn't really matter. I didn't intend to sell any of this stuff. It was just, I just wanted to make things because I've always wanted to make cuffs and bracelets. And now I had the ability to, and I had materials, and there's nothing stopping me. But within 4 months, I was invited to, some friends of mine ran a Renaissance fair, essentially. They asked me to sell my stuff because they thought it was cool. Showed up, I didn't realize it at the time, but now that I teach classes on how to prepare for shows, I had like literally the one perfect spot in the entire show. I don't think anybody knew it, but there's like enough space for 3 people to stand. And if you can sell product there, it's not enough space for a booth. It's enough space for you to literally stand there. And this amount of space of a table is already pushing it. I had about this much. I had, you know, those little tables you can like pop up at the couch to like eat your, I had one of those.
Little dinner trays.
And I showed up to a Ren fair in jeans and a t-shirt, man. So like,
oh no.
Jeans and a t-shirt and a little pop-up thing and a box that I got at Ross while I was a manager there. Popped open my box, started pouring out cuffs, and I'm thinking like, you know, quick calculation in my head, like, dude, man, even if I wanted to sell these things at like minimum wage, these are like $200 a pop because I don't have a strap cutter. I was like, dude, I was doing everything the dumbest way. And don't get me wrong, they looked cool, but it was highly unconventional leather art. It was basically, to run it down for you guys, I would get like a piece of soft leather like deer or something, decorate the deer with a bunch of studs, a bunch of decorative stitching, and then wrap that deer around a hard piece of crusty chrome tan. And then, you know, do some really wild whip stitch or something to put it together. It functions as a cuff. It looks all barbaric and stuff, but it looks really decorated, and nobody's doing stuff like that. So like, but it was a lot of work for a very small project. So I didn't think any of it was going to sell. While I'm taking the things out of the box, because the reason why it's the perfect spot is that I'm right next to the biggest line in the entire show. And it's a constant line. So you have people that are forced to come into your booth all day. Some dude just grabs one and he says, how much for this one? And I was $180. He's sold just like that. And I'm just like trying to keep it cool. Like, oh my God, that worked. Nice. And, you know, run the transaction. And while I'm pulling out the credit card, immediately people just start grabbing stuff, realizing that all this stuff is for sale. And then it was just like a separate line pulled off from the main line to visit this little spot and buy something, and then when they're done, they can throw their axes, shoot their arrows, and then then they can go. And it was just that all day, and I had like maybe like 80 cuffs, and all of them but like 6 sold in the first day. I'd like never had that much cash in my life, and I was like, this is my first time using a card reader. It's like, dude, I really hope I set that up right, because I have no idea where this money's going. Yeah. So like that night, go through as much stuff as I can possibly make in a single night. Got 0 sleep, came back, did the same thing the next day, made a ton of money. And from then on, I decided like, oh dude, I'd rather do this than like, work retail. Retail is like soul crushing, because I was going to school at the time. So I was like, I'd rather do this and go to school. So within the first year of Swift Hammer, I reached out to another local leather crafter, because this dude, I've been following on this guy, Redbeard Leather.
Yeah.
On Instagram. He's Redbeard Original on Instagram. I've been following him for a hot minute, and I just like learned like very, very recently, like, wait, this dude like lives down the street from me. Like, he posted something on his stories that he's at like Lamppost Pizza. I was like, my Lamppost Pizza? Like, this dude's like a local? What? So I hit him up because somebody asked me to make a bicycle seat, and I've never done something like that, but this dude makes like proper motorcycle seats and stuff.
Okay. And
so I hit him up. I was like, hey, I got this request. I have no idea what I'm doing. Can you give me like a quick rundown? He's like, yeah, come into the shop. I swung down there. He gave me a quick rundown on how to get the shape, how to make sure that everything fits, how to mount the seat and all that. And while I'm there, he's like, yeah, dude, I've been following you for a bit. How would you like to like work in the shop? And then like I can, can get you up to running on a lot more complicated techniques. But really, like it's difficult to find. I mean, it's just like this with any other, like even like tattooing. Mm-hmm. It's difficult to find someone that is committed to at least sticking around long enough to learn some difficult things, because you're not useful until you learn those things. And I have to slow down to teach you. So like, unless that investment's going to be there, it's not really worth teaching anyone. So I hopped in the Redbeard shop, and I did like maybe 20, 30 hours a week, depending on how much he needs me. And at the same time, like 20, 30 hours a week in my shop while going to school.
Yeah.
And it went from like the first 6 months was just a lot of cutting straps, setting rivets, grunt work. But like, I didn't realize it at the time how important being able to do those types of tasks a million times so that you can nail it down. There's no other way. You want to cut curves well, you have to cut that curve 1,000 times, and that curve is down. What about other types? Like, it's just, there's no way around it. Like, I can teach you a couple tricks and stuff, but like, you need that discipline, because it's not obvious. It's how to hold the knife, cool. How to lock my wrist, cool. How to lock my elbows. How to like make sure my shoulders are moving how they need to. It's much more involved than it sounds. Mm-hmm. But after that 6 months, he immediately got me into like, well, now you're gonna transfer the artwork. You're not gonna do any of the carving, any of the tooling, but you're gonna start to feel the lines with the stylus, and start to feel the curves, and start to understand the geometry that leather likes. Not all shapes transfer into leather art well, because we're not 2D and we're not 3D. We're like somewhere in the middle. So little by little, I'd say within like the next 3 months, now it's like, I'm going to carve them all. You're going to bevel all just the outlines. Now, in addition to the outlines, you're going to start to bevel some of the lines on the inside. And it just turned into like, the second he can trust me to bevel, that's all I'm doing. So like after a year, it was 20, 30 hours a week in his shop, exclusively tooling. And then towards the last year that I was working with him, it was nothing but like advanced tooling. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking like sometimes it's like 34 hours a week in his shop, another 34 hours a week in my shop. My shop is mostly like lots of just assembly grunt work, but like I had my own tooling commissions and stuff like that coming in. Sometimes he had commissions that he didn't want to take, and so he'll just hook up his client with me and then I'll take them. But it's just, both of us had a volume of work coming in, and in a very short amount of time, most people don't touch tooling at all. And if they do, it's a lot of very slow progress. But when you get thrown into the deep end, and that's all you do, that's all you're thinking, that's all you're dreaming about for like 3 years, you pick up a lot really quickly. Yeah. So like, I feel like I consider myself suspiciously lucky, considering like, my background, everything. Like anybody that knows me knows that I'm, for whatever reason, incredibly lucky. But having bumped into that opportunity to be able to get like all the things where no way around it, you need 10,000 hours to get into this field. I got all that stuff out of the way in like the first couple of years. So now it's like, I'm 30 years old, going to like trade shows. All the other teachers are like, at least got like 10, 15 years on me. But they're like, how the hell did you figure out tooling that quickly? It's not that, I wouldn't say that I'm like naturally talented. I just had an excuse to put a ton of hours in a very short amount of time.
That's incredible. Speaking of lucky, we've got you in the studio here teaching on our learning platform. What are you teaching?
Technically, we're learning how to make a bracer.
Okay.
What we're really doing is I'm trying to pack together a master class to leather fundamentals without telling the students that. Because like I've learned that if you tell them it's an advanced
Just
course,
sneak it in.
yeah, I try to sneak education in as somebody who enjoys uh, uh, entertainment educational content. It's easier to teach people when they're being tricked. When I don't tell you I'm here to teach you.
It's like a toddler. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like first and foremost, let's entertain you, and then if I can teach you while we're doing it, it's like the medicine's way less painful.
Mm-hmm.
But especially with like advanced concepts, most people don't ever feel that they're ready for advanced. Now, just as an example, if you go to any one of the trade shows, any one of the advanced courses, far less students, and it's not just because like there's less people that can like keep up. It's because most people just think that they're not ready for it, even though you would absolutely keep up with it. You'd be fine. And especially with a good teacher, like it's not that hard. It sounds advanced because you would not have figured this out in the beginning. Like you definitely don't hop into these techniques in the beginning. But like once you have the fundamentals even kind of down, you're ready. So like Redbeard, man, this is the way that he taught me how to airbrush.
Okay.
Now, airbrushing for the most part is exclusively for projects that have a lot of tooling on it. And these are massive panels for bike seats, meaning we've spent like 40 hours between the both of us tooling these things already. There's already a lot of work into this individual piece of leather. So I get this thing all finished up. He gets his station ready for airbrushing. It's got all his colors ready. He's like, all right, come here, sit down. You're going to learn how to airbrush on this piece. And I just look at him like, dude, are you serious? And he's got this big old grin on his face. Like
saucer eyes.
Yeah. If anybody's ever learned how to ride a bike this way, you'll get it. You know, dad takes you to the top of the hill, takes your training wheels off, and he just pushes you.
Yeah.
That's how I was taught to airbrush. And I feel like most people are going to come out of that situation perfectly fine. The downside is if you don't, it can be very like demotivating, demoralizing to like have that experience and feel like I'm never going to get good at this. But like, for one, if you've ever had that experience, it's definitely not true. You can definitely come into it again with a completely different, like, let's try a different set of colors instead of, you know, a whole bunch of weird ones. We're only working with like brown and black, keeping it simple. And you might have a better experience and realize where you messed up. But most people are going to come out of that situation alive. And it's not necessarily like the hand motions or the muscle memory that you learned. The valuable part was we just took a mental lock off of you.
Yeah.
We just taught you are more than capable of what you think you are. And now that that lock is off of you, like, well, what do you want? Like you can learn anything. Humans are capable of everything. It's just, I think we hold ourselves back a lot. And so if we just don't tell you that that lock is there, just sneak you right into an advanced course.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get a lot of people, at least like newbies in the field, to be able to show you some pretty advanced techniques without, let's just assume this is par for the course. Let's just assume these are fundamentals, because they are. Yeah. Like once you realize like this, with just a handful of techniques, you can take on some pretty complicated projects. But like drawing a line and cutting it with a knife is not that complicated. You know, most people can do that. It's how you apply those techniques. And those are the techniques that I've learned. Like once I figured out how to do those, my whole like career on commissions and stuff rode on just those techniques for years. Like you can do a lot with just those techniques. So my goal is to get new people into leathercraft or in any art really. I want to help people find what sets their soul on fire. But for me, I knew that was leather, and that's what I'm like knowledgeable about. So I feel comfortable speaking on the behalf of leathercraft and trying to get people at least moving on to there. If it's not leather for you, do something.
So now that we've got everyone excited for your course, and you know, now that you spilled the beans on the master course, before they sit down, what do they need to come to the course with? What do you suggest for the student before they sit down?
Now, I have no idea what this course is going to come out like. I had a lot of preparation on my end, but really this boils down to, this is Derek's project.
Right.
Like the guy behind the camera doing all the editing, that's the hard work. I'm just the dude in front of the camera. This is easy. I just got to show up. So it really boils down to like how he formats the class. I definitely included like some script work so we can make sure that I'm not going, and then we're gonna, and it's just like, can we just like move on? We got a lot to pack in a short amount of time. If you need to rewatch this, we can. So I think definitely drink some coffee, come in with an open mind, and try to be very aware of those mental locks that might be on you. Because I know for me, like the second that I saw a swivel knife was like, I'm definitely not doing that.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that like I just slammed up against that lock and just went, nope, I ain't touching it.
Yeah.
Like be aware of the lock and also just be okay with it. Like it's completely natural. It's par for the course. So if you feel that sense of fear, you're in the right spot. That's exactly where you should be, but don't let it stop you.
Take those 20 seconds of courage, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you had one thing to say to yourself or one thing you wish you knew 10 years ago, 20-year-old Brandon before this journey started, is that one thing that you know now that you would tell yourself back then?
I feel like two pieces of advice, one from the business side, one from the math side, one from the abstract art side. From the math side, I wouldn't say it's not worth your time, but understand that when you start off, you are competing with everyone at the bottom. Once you realize that all you have to do is figure out how the top is playing their game and compete with them, even if you fail. Let's just say you only get halfway there. Dude, that's way higher than where you're starting.
Yep.
So like think bigger, think much, not just like in longer spans of time, because I'm terrible about that. I'm terrible about thinking what I'm gonna do for the next year, let alone 5 years, right? But it's more, how do I expand this small concept of a thing I want to sell, snowball that into, well, if I can make 50 or 60 of those, I can drop the price down to a certain amount. Then I can contact this company that makes an adjacent product and see if I can tie it in with them. Then get this other artist that made a song that I know I can go with this and hit them up because look, man, I made a project with your song in it. Do you like it? No? Like, how do I grab so many other artists and minds and how can I snowball this into one big thing? And man, even if you fail, that's way more attention and more sales than you would have gotten if you had just like done the same thing everyone else is doing. So like, once I learned how to study those at the top and not in leather, like there's not a lot of us that are successful in leather and like it's a very small field. Like study Mr. Beast, study Jeff Bezos. Like what is Apple doing? And I know those things are like, well, how the hell do I even begin? The second that you start searching this stuff into Google, Google's going to pick up what you want to know. The same thing with anything with a search engine. The second you start to poke around, it's going to try to determine what it is that you're looking for. So even if you don't know the right words, it'll eventually lead you to what you're looking for. Podcasts, videos, anything that you can consume passively. I loved, especially when I'm washing dishes or taking a shower, some type of like educational news thing that I wouldn't otherwise just like sit and watch. I'll play that in the background because like I ain't got nothing else I'm doing. I'm stuck here washing these dishes for the next 20 minutes. I might as well like listen up to what like Apple's been up to or what Google's been up to. But once I've realized that like there's really no point in competing at the bottom. Like you're going to make this very, very slow linear growth as opposed to accidental success and boop, now you just made a huge jump and now you can actually have like room to play. That's a little bit of advice from the business side, but a little bit of advice for the art side is as an artist, you're going to have these really cool ideas that like in your head are great. And it can crush you when you like show this to other people and they're like, oh, cool. And you're just like, dude, that's like my soul right there. And you're just like, oh, cool. So like, and don't let this make your head big because I feel like you definitely have to worry about controlling your ego as well. But you have great ideas and people just don't know it yet. And until you get that validation, until you finally have like, say like a video go viral and everyone goes like, oh my God, how are you not famous? And then you get that validation of, oh, dang, dude, I do know what I'm doing. And it's not until that happens that you realized you had good ideas this whole time. So understand you do have good ideas. People just don't know it yet. So like, don't let that stop you from putting your good ideas out.
Thank you for joining us. Your authenticity is incredible, and this was such a fun conversation. I appreciate your time today.
Thanks, dude.
And thank you everyone who watched this. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss any more conversations just like this one with Brandon. And don't miss out on our learning platform. His course will be on there soon.
it's looking like a Swift hammer video, man. Hey guys, I'm Swift. In this class, we're gonna be going over how to make this exact bracer using some pretty fundamental techniques. Now, I know this looks pretty complicated, but I promise you, it's not that scary. We're gonna go over a lot of the stuff that I've learned probably in the first 5 years of my career. And between all of them, you can make some really complicated looking stuff. And if there's one thing I hope you take home today, it's range. With your swivel knife, you don't want 100% all the way. You want 0 to 100. With your line depth, with drawing, you want 0 to 100. With your beveling, you want 0 to 100. With your color, 0 to 100. You get the idea. But when it comes to making fine work, there's always ways to step up your game. Whether you're new to leatherwork or you've been here for a hot minute, I'm pretty sure you're gonna learn a lot out of this class.